Hey guys, so welcome to another episode of the World Football Summit podcast. We are recording live from Sevilla at World Football Summit Europe, and I am privileged to welcome Siem de Jong, former football player and currently, I was trying to look at the words to define him, but he's involved in so many things, and that's what we're going to discuss today. Before we do, Siem, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you.
So, yeah, we were just discussing offline how, you had a career in football. Maybe you want to give a little bit of context, but I guess I want to understand, a little bit more about you and more importantly, why, because you're involved in so many things, why you decided to do that and everything that you're involved in.
Yeah, well, I started playing football when I was really young and then eventually came to Ajax in the academy and then the first team there and had great years at Ajax and then went to different clubs in the world, in England, Australia, America. So stopped playing actually a year ago. It's nice to be here also in Seville because I've been here a few times when my brother Luke was playing here. So,
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So no, it's nice to be here again. And for me, it's now it's about I've stopped playing professional for a year now, and I'm in my transition to my new career. I doing a lot of things. I already started when I was playing a little bit with some initiatives outside of football, together with other athletes as well. A lot of them, looking at the power of football or sports for society as well in the initiatives we started. But for me now, this is a nice event to have for my network, but to also hear different people talk about the future of football, and that's what I'm basically in now, and doing an internship at Ajax as well to get to know the organization better. So really in my transition.
Okay, now and that's interesting because I've had several players or former players coming through the show these past 2 days. A lot of people from Spain as well. I'm wondering, how's that going for you? I mean, I guess it's difficult to kind of like be at the top of the game and then suddenly it's like a different chapter. It's just turning the page, no? So how you've been approaching that?
Well, for me it was a bit different because my career, I was at my top of my career, at the middle of my career, and then eventually I went down a little bit in clubs, and also maybe because of that found a little bit of time inside my head to start other initiatives and to look already a little bit what's going to be next. And now that I've stopped actually for a year, it's been a lot more difficult actually than I thought it would be. Because I had a few initiatives and I already knew I was going to do an internship, and I thought, this is going to be transitioning into my new career will be starting almost straight away. But after a year, it's been also really looking into what will be my next goal and thing that I'll be working towards, and that's still a little bit the process I'm in. So after a year, it's more concluding that I have to be happy and confident in the process instead of already knowing where I'm going.
But I think it's just a matter of patience in the sense that. But what I like about your approach, and this is what I wanted to talk to you about today, you're involved in so many things, and I think eventually you'll find something that clicks for you, know? So for example, one of the things you're doing is, you're trying to build, if I'm not wrong, you're involved in different investment companies. You're trying to build your investment portfolio. I don't know what you can share about that.
At the end of my career, I was already looking at a little bit starting in investing myself, and then eventually it went to, this is all quite basic, so how can we do this better with a good group of people that we know inside of football, also different athletes. So I also started a company with different players I played with, and also with my brother, of course. It's quite easy to have him involved as well. But we were looking, how can we do this better and more professionally, and also for other athletes. And then we eventually met the people from Apex, where they were a little bit ahead of us in where they wanted to go, but quite similar in creating an athlete community, investing in the future of sports, basically. And we joined them quite early on and helped them to start the first fund, and that's where I'm still involved in. Not on a daily basis, but still, also coming to the summit as part of that as well, and still using my network, but also learning from them, meeting new initiatives in football, in sports. So for me, it's a good education, but also a good way of being involved in sports investment with a professional team in the background instead of just doing investments. So
no, makes sense.
So that's why, basically we started that and still doing a little bit of investment on the side with people myself, but most of it, the professional part is more through Apex now.
Yeah, but that's smart. I mean, at the end of the day, you have to recognize when, and it happens to everybody, I think, what our core knowledge is and where we can need some support. So that makes sense.
True.
Another thing that you're also doing is you're creating content. You're a fellow podcaster. So, and so talk about your podcast. What do you do?
Oh, yeah, we were really looking at, how can we, the power of sports, everybody knows is there, and the platform that we had and have as athletes. So we had the idea a few years ago, me and Daley Blind, when we were playing together actually at Ajax in the second period there. And eventually it took us some time. So when we eventually started, I was already gone, I think, and he was already gone. So we had to do a digital version. And it's also just getting to get a feel of it. I also do sometimes now some analytics on TV, but also, getting confidence with talking and also talking about the beauty of football, basically, and the future of football is what we want in the podcast. And eventually also when other players that I do this with stop, maybe we can create more around it. So it's also an initiative that we started now to, use the power we have during that we're still playing, but also for us when we stop playing, and we're trying to build a brand with it as well.
Well, that's the key thing. I mean, at the end of the day, you have the experience, football, and who better than you guys to actually understand where you want future to go, and then actually leveraging the opportunities that creating content around that to give that direct message. I think so much has changed, and personally, I love podcasting because it opens up the opportunity to speak to people like yourself, so that are actually making the effort to create a better football.
Yeah, so in my transition, I also look at, which people or companies or people from companies I would want to talk to, and a podcast could be a good way to also have a serious conversation, but also learn about next steps. So we're also looking a lot at and Daley's more into maybe coaching, and I'm maybe more into football in different ways. So looking at people we can invite to the podcast as well to talk about how we are looking at our transition. So it's a good way to talk about it and to hopefully create good stories and maybe educate and help other people as well a little bit.
I just feel like the best podcasts are the ones that are authentic, and you guys bring that authenticity, because you're thinking, hey, this is happening to me, and I think that's where people resonate more.
Yeah, it's still difficult. We're still looking, because Daley is still playing as well, of course, here in Spain. So he doesn't want all of the attention yet. So it's also like getting the balance right between having a good conversation, but we cannot speak as freely maybe as other people can, or as we don't even want that kind of press or anything around us. So it's finding the balance in having a good authentic conversation and having interesting people from inside football or just outside that we want to talk to and create an authentic story with.
I just feel like at some point we're going to get something closer to what we see in the Americas.
Yeah, that's what, of course, for me, I had my role models in America as well, with people, athletes, building their own brands and building their own companies and their own stories. So, of course, that's for me something I've looked at as well during my career.
Yeah, but that's not the only thing you're doing, You're also involved in what I call purpose-driven initiatives.
Yeah, well, that's basically a little bit combined. So creating our platform, but also building, these kind of initiatives. And one we started is, with Apex, we're sort of investing in the future of sports. With our company is called Team Players is something where we're also looking at creating strategies and partnerships in football, and we're doing it in Holland with clubs and organizations where we combine the power of partnerships and strategies with local community, with social impact. So we really believe that the combination of sport and social impact is a really strong way. And that's also, I was here at one of the workshops about sustainability in football. So I've experienced it as an athlete, and now I see it inside the organization, and everybody knows where the power is there, but how can we really make it have the lasting impact, and that's what we're searching for as well with a company that we started. So it's also a nice way to be involved in the sports community as well.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, and actually this leads well into a question that I wanted to ask you. Last year we launched a rebrand at World Football Summit, and it was kind of behind the idea that the football industry needs to evolve. It needs to become more professional, embrace innovation, but also adopt sustainability as a priority. And when I speak about sustainability, there's 3 pillars. It's the financial, it's the social impact, and it's the environmental. No? And all of this, we summarized it under a claim that we said, the football we want, the football we need. So if I were to ask you to define very briefly, like 1-2 sentences, not more than that, the football you want or the football you need, how would you do it?
Well, that's basically where I ended in my previous conversation. For me, it's about the impact football or sport can have on society, that you incorporate it more into the whole DNA structure of the organization, and it starts with the top, where the leaders find or think it's important that football has this power and will execute it, and that's for me where it all starts in the governance and the importance of how we see football in society. And I think everybody now is seeing it and wanting it, but we need to act on it as well.
Mm-hmm. And yesterday I was having a conversation with Salva Ballesta. He used to be a player for Racing de Santander, and I'm a big fan of the club, no? So it was a fun conversation. I was asking him about advice because actually more than an advice, we were discussing how today there's more younger players that are getting into the spotlight sooner, if you will. Given your experience, what advice would you give to those upcoming players to actually think? It's difficult because they're chasing their dreams, they have their ambitions, but at the end of the day, you have to give them the visibility that they have to understand from the very beginning that's a chapter in their life.
Yep.
And they will have to move on at some point. What advice would you give to those players?
Well, I think it's not really maybe not even the advice to the players. It's more the advice to the people around it and the clubs. I think we need to guide them a lot more and also, see that this is happening and make it something good. And in the academies as well, we're not just creating football players. We're creating, role models or good human beings, and that should be the first thing. And I think that's one of the most important things that we can do, and basically also create the role models instead of just seeing if they become one. And I think that's where we as industry, and especially of course as clubs and people around players, that's something we need to look at and also be really aware of, that we can play a big part in that.
Yeah, I think so. And it reminds me of a conversation I had on the podcast with Agustina Giovanni. She's a mental performance coach at BFC, the women's football team. And she always, she made a very big point when she said something like, better humans make better professionals.
Yeah, well, that's similar, to what I mean. I mean, we need to create good human beings that think it's important and that see their power towards society and social impact they can have. And that's something, we can expect them to just do by themselves, or we can help them with and show. I mean, for me, it was the same in what I did. I had my role models, and I think that's something, the football needs to look at as well.
Yeah.
So,
and one last question, Siem, and I appreciate this conversation so much. Why do you think it's important for players or former players to actually attend events like this?
Well, to see where the future of football is heading, and also, like what I said, the workshop I had to also have the conversation with different stakeholders in football, the brands, the leagues, the people around it. I think everybody, and that was one of the things we mentioned in the end as well. Especially when you talk about social impacts, I said all these kind of topics, it's something we need to do together, and not see as something to promote ourselves with, but the ones that are at the top are the ones that promote it, but should promote it. But if they go down a bit, there's somebody else at the top, and then they can promote it. So you shouldn't see it as something you should do by yourself, but as a sport, as a league or whatever, and even as athletes together. If one athlete was just promoting sustainability, then he or she will always get the attention. But if there's a group, and then the ones that are at the top at one point are the ones that are visible, then you are not just by yourself when you're advocating for these kind of change.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for this conversation. I had a lot of fun, and thank you so much for making the time. I know you had things to do, so I appreciate you making some few minutes for us.
I'm gonna enjoy some more of the
Thank you.
event. Thank you.